inside switch here. As Macris headed to the infield. Break lock up, big break lock up now.
Quite the same. He's driven off the road. Marina hangs on to it.
Pretty wide. And why not? Come on, let's get a fourth car in here. Oh no!
Johnson from the lead.
Good morning and welcome to Sydney Motorsport Park for round 4 of the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals. We've got a fantastic program lined up for you today. Formula 3 on track, Formula 4 for the first time at the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals. The Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge presented by Pirelli. Production cars will round out the day with a 250k race here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the plan. Obviously, the progress of the rehab's obviously all aimed at starting off fresh next year, so let's hope that all goes well. Back out there and give you something to talk about again.
I suppose you get to keep a bit of budget in your pocket too between now and the end of the year, don't you? There's the plus.
Yeah, except for the missus reckon she's spending it now.
Oh, good luck with that. Matt, thank you very much again for this weekend. We'll see you up at Queensland Raceway July 29, 30 and 31. Remember, it's my birthday on the 31st of July, so presents are welcome. Thank you very much from Australian GT people. That'll be much welcome.
We'll get you some Darryl Lee.
That'll be good.
We'll look after you.
The BBs, the Jaffa BBs. It looks like I've never had one, really. I mean, look at me.
No, you've not had the Jaffa ones.
No.
The other BBs you've been all over.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Gotta get the other ones back in there. So thank you very much, Matt. Thanks, Jeff. Well, the ticking of the clock now. We've got the production cars sitting down there in the marshalling area, getting ready to roll out onto the track for the last race of this round 4 of the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals. A big thank you to Shannon's Insurance on 134646 for all their support as we look to pit exit to see when the Australian production cars head out on track.
They're actually being released from the starting grid as we speak, Daz, so basically we're trying to make up a little bit of time. We're about a quarter of an hour off our scheduled. Look, big thanks to Richard Crowder, Tony Trebecki and to Matt Kosh, John Collins, and of course Jeff Emery just a few moments ago for the GT commentary. And we do have Gary O'Brien will be joining us any minute now. He's just having a catch up with young Jeff and seeing how things are going. Daz, it's been a good day, a long day, a beautiful day weather-wise outside, mate. I'll tell you what, it's possibly been the best Sunday we've had in Sydney over the last month.
Well, I've got to say, each and every time we come here with the Nationals, bar 4 years ago, this is how the weather's played out. So no complaints from me to leave freezing cold grey Melbourne to come up to Sydney to be confronted by this beautiful weather.
Yeah, I can see you hating every second of it.
It's really good. It's good. Sydney Motorsport Park is again another track which has. I do like tracks with consequence, and I don't want the consequences, but just in the back of the mind is that we do want to see good racing on a track that does reward some bravery and sometimes some stupidity, as long as they're well focused with that. But cars making their way around now for the production car race. I'm not sure whether we're going to have a quick break before this Proddy race, but the next round, of course, at Sydney Motorsport Park, round 4 for the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals.
Just got to get in a quick thanks to both Ender and to Daniel from Race Centre Virtual Reality. Went over and had a quick look and a bit of a run around on the equipment while you guys were busy talking about real racing cars. This virtual reality thing, I'll tell you what, Jeff Emery was talking about doing simulator drives before they started the commentary for the GTs. I can totally see why drivers are getting into it. It is absolutely brilliant. You're so very much immersed and get lost in how the game works. It's just brilliant stuff. Also, don't forget, of course, for those of you listening online, if you're in Sydney, of course, or if you're coming up to Sydney, Sunday, August 21st, we do have our start line days, the ARDC start line days for both competitors and race officials. We're starting at 7 o'clock on Sunday, August 21st for competitors and from 11 a.m. for our race officials. A great idea to come along and find out how it all works behind the scenes. We are always on the outlook for new and experienced people in various fields, communications, fire marshals, all those kind of things. So please check us out at sydneymotorsportpark.com.au/startline. We do have our production cars out on the grid, and I do believe we'll get them out for a sighting lap fairly shortly. And as I mentioned, we'll have young Gary O'Brien come and join us on commentary any moment now as we get ready for our start. 3-minute board will be under the starters' orders. So we've got 250 kilometres of racing, Daz, to come, and if we're seeing anything like what we saw yesterday, it is going to be an absolute ripper of a race.
Yeah, some of these longer distance races in production cars, there's always a stanza of the race that's a little bit tedious to try and work out how things.
It's only about halfway through.
Yeah, but between sort of 1/3 and 2/3, it's sort of a little bit. Everyone's just seeing where they're at, where their strengths and weaknesses are. But yesterday was no different to many of these production car races that we've had on the nationals over the years, where there'd be 4 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, various different forms of racing. This is a 250k race, and we'll start to see the nuances play out. We've got a lockout of the first two rows of the grid with German marks. We've got two BMWs across the front row, another BMW and an Audi, and it's Beric Linton and Luke Searle on the front row, Ian Sharon, Mark Eddy on the second row. Then we go back to Tony Alford, number 54 Audi TT. He's sharing with Stewie Costera. Right next to him is the Rick Bates Bob Pearson car. Bates out of 6. Watch that car off the line. That will be an absolute jet. And we'll keep an eye on the product car. And it's Kyle Alford in the number 7. Rod Salmon in the second of the Evos in position 8. And it's a big welcome to Gary O'Brien, who has certainly been playing a part with the return of auto action. But at the moment, Gary, you're running your own show with a couple of your buddies at breakmarker.com.au.
Yeah, well, we're trying to keep on top of what's going on while we've had that interim period where we haven't had the news coming through that we've always been used to with auto action, but just had a good conversation with the publisher, and that's all looking good for the 21st of July when auto action will be back out on the streets in a fortnightly 60-page format, which we're totally looking forward to. Lots of news stories and what have you in that, Dave.
In regards to the actual content, Gary, are you looking at carrying the same kind of content when it was as it was before? Are you looking at introducing new things? Is there going to be a change of layout? Those sorts of...
It goes back to tabloid format, with a newspaper, full colour with a glossy wraparound cover. And at this stage there'll be more national news, more support category news, and more state championships and the like of that, and more newsy stuff as well as race reports.
As a suggestion, I mean, there's only slightly tongue-in-cheek, to be honest. It's because of the size of the publication it's going to be. You're going to go for a fold-out, a lift-out, like a poster of the week, there's been a car or, whatever the case might be. Throw that to the team and say, well, hey, we've got the room to do it. It's going to be full colour.
I think that the idea is that to get news out there more so than the pictures. There's other magazines that do glossy lift-out. And
I know your sorts of magazines.
No,
all valid charges, aren't they?
I think that one went out of publication years ago. Hey, Charger.
Yeah, look, really great news to hear, mate, and certainly for yourself as a writer and for all the other people that have been involved. I'm sure they're much relieved to hear that auto action will be coming back in a new form, a different form, and a more vibrant option as well, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and you need that print format out there, at least one publication that's covering everything from basic grassroots level motorsport right up to the supercars and the GTs and the like. We need to cover the whole gamut of the sport, which we aren't getting at the moment.
I suppose in the time being, you guys jumped on board pretty hurriedly and put breakmarket.com.au out there. It's got its niche in the marketplace as well. Certainly enjoying what's being put out there. It's still a good read.
We might have to get the work together. It'll be even better.
Bit of hand in glove type work. That's the way it goes.
But at the moment, the hand in glove, of course, is the round 2, race 2 of the Australian Production Car Series this weekend, brought to you by Tyre Right, the Australia's first click and mortar tyre retailer. Also supporting the series is PSC Insurance Brokers, OnTick Sports and Hancock Tyres, which they all run around on, Aspect Tyres. Each driver here has a maximum time at the wheel of 1 hour and 45 minutes. I did say 40 minutes yesterday, but that was just 5 minutes out.
If you got the hour, what did you say, an hour and 40?
Hour 45. And at the moment, the field's lining up. It looks, in the main part, to be the guys that started yesterday's race with Barry Clinton, Paul Morris, Ian Sharon, who actually finished yesterday's race. Dean Fiore started yesterday's. Tony Alford finished. Rick Bates finished yesterday's race. He's starting today's race. I think that's a late change too. We weren't expecting that. Kyle Orford finished yesterday's race, will start today's race. And Rod Salmon, who did start yesterday and will actually start today. So there's a bit of a mix-up there in our top 8 cars, but we're just about ready to lift off. We won't get through the field, but certainly a great race yesterday. 19 cars started, 16 finished.
Race start now, Revs get up there, the Linton Lay car bogs and then has another bite at it. The Morris car goes along with it there as well, but it is going to be the Audi TT of Mark Eddy right round Dean Fiore, right round the outside, and then just falls back in behind Beric Linton in the BMW. So a great start for Dean Fiore and the Mark Eddy Network clothing car. And have a look at the car number 18. It pushes its way up, the Class B car. And Rick Bates on cold tyres disappears very, very wide and allows that 135i Class B car through there. So Rick Bates on cold tyres, struggling a little bit through turn 2 there. The four-wheel drive car letting him down and just sliding his way around the turn 2 complex. So it's a series of white German cars out in front at the moment. It happens to be a 1M, an M135i, and Audi TT RS. Paul Morris at the wheel of that one. Then it's Ian Sharon, Rick Bates, and Kyle Orford in the Darren King BMW 1M.
Yeah, and unlike yesterday, we didn't have any dramas at turn 1. And we should get through the first lap without a safety car, which will be great for a high-speed run. Initially, of course, it was Linton fending off Fiore for the lead, and then Paul Morris has actually got past the Audi. The Audi coming back at it now as they make the run up towards turn 15. And, of course, Sharon in behind that, and then the Evo spitting flames out in position 5. The next car after that would be Kyle Orford, so he's ahead of a slow starting Audi, or unless they've just missed that one. We've got the two Darren King cars there. Yeah, they're running line astern of each other. The Audi's in front, so it's actually missing off our list. Car 54, where are you? And it hasn't come through on the timing, so there's an issue with the timing with the transponder on car 54. We'll keep an eye on that during the race. Hopefully they'll fix it manually, but it might not pop up straight away.
So Beric Linton leads. He's behind the wheel of car number 23 according to our timing monitor here. And nice to see Dean Fiore out there in that Audi TT. Of course, we've talked about that incident yesterday where the bonnet had come loose and smashed into the windscreen. Actually saw that windscreen down in the paddock a little while ago, and you can see why they've had to pull it out. It's a fairly substantial mess and very easy to see through. Anyway, let's have a look at where the other fields. It looks like they've got that Orford timing sorted out there, Gary.
Yeah, well, they manually update it if it doesn't come up through the transponder, so it might not refresh it immediately, but it will be. In position 8, there's Doug Westwood.
Dean Fiore slowed and gone streaming through a number of cars. Rick Bates gassing up the product Lancer. He looks to the inside there as Fiore now gets going again.
Missed a gear.
He's fallen into the clutches of the Orford TT, so there's two BMWs out in front, another BMW being joined by Rick Bates in the Evo. Yeah, boy, the Evo's running a strong fuel mixture. It has got big fuel smoke coming out of the back of it on early acceleration.
And we're looking at how this race almost concluded yesterday, except the order is reversed. Paul Morris now leading Beric Linton, and Sharon in third spot. So over the top 3 cars yesterday. Rick Bates in 4th, then of course Fiore leading the Audi pair with Orford the next one through, Kyle Orford, the young son of Tony, the next one through, followed by Rod Salmon. Had turbo boost problems with that car yesterday, seems to have rectified itself. One that's picked up a few spots in the opening laps has been the second Sharon car, come from well back.
As has George Karadumas in the Class C Falcon as well, that entertained us no end yesterday with its pace. Crash on the opening corner, rectified the problems. There were numerous laps down, but then continued to just be fast for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, and that incident involved the number 88 Renault Megane of Francois Joy. If you're watching the monitor at the moment, you'll see car 54 slipping back down the order. I think that's just the timing glitch that's causing that problem. The car's still running very strong at the moment. And of course, just to give you an idea where the other categories are, George Karadimas has actually got to the front of Class C, just having passed Doug Westwood on that last lap. Frank Donahue in third spot, and it's Adrian Burrell and Gangway in the second. The Osborne cars is in 13th. There's a bit of smoke being kicked up, or a bit of dust off track, and it looked like it came from the Evo.
Yeah, just running a little bit wide as they go through that joining section there. Let's have a look at where they are at the top end of the field, coming down out of turn 18 as we'll complete lap number 3. Paul Morris, certainly the quickest man on track at the moment, judging by the second sector split times there, Gary. Actually by only a couple of hundredths, as it turns out.
He's got the fastest lap of the race, 43.8. So a little bit off there, what we know they can do. We know they can get down to low 42s, even into the 41s. But I'd be keeping an eye, well, the fastest lap that went to Ian Sherrin, 43.2, 43.3 from Rick Bates, and I'm sure that he would like to get through to the lead. A bit unfortunate in yesterday's race that they planned their pit stop for a certain lap, and it just happened this way. Drove towards the pit lane, the safety car came out, cost them a lap, and that's a lap. They got back onto the lead lap, but they never really regained a full lap.
Just looking at the Renault McGowan that yesterday crashed out in the first turn of the race, turn 1, here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and out there with Frank Donahue at the wheel. Didn't get back in the race late on. Bit of a live test session for those guys. The Class C cars all lining up behind each other now. Karadimas, Donahue, West, Dougie Westwood, Hadrian Morale in the Colin Osborne Motorsport Renault, and Ganglang. And then we look back to Andrew Turpey leading Carly Black in the Class D. Alexandra Best in the grey motorsport car, and Walsh, Naylor and Alford, of course, will be rectified once the timing room update their scores, but currently being scored down the back of the field. In fact, they are sitting in 6th position.
Yeah, certainly an interesting race yesterday. The Sherrins, another one that got caught out by that pit stop when the safety car was there, and on the restart were actually caught behind one of the Suzuki, so they couldn't actually clear the lap traffic until after the control light, and by that stage the leading 2 cars were out of sight through turn 1, so that cost them a bit of time. And then they had some issues with a car in front of them was allegedly spilling some fuel for a few laps after the stop, and that was causing them to skid around a bit.
So the battle of the Dynamite mini cars here. We've got the Toyota Echo and one of the Suzuki Swifts out there. That's of course a Lauren Gray entry, just leading at the moment. The little Swift, and there's the other Swift that we had the incident yesterday as well. Saw Emily Duggan prowling around here earlier today. Emily, if you're still here, please do feel free to come up to commentary and say hi. So we have a look at car 15. That's down in position number 17. With Alexandra Best leading Walsh in the number 9, and Naylor still looking like there might have been a couple of issues. Back to the front end though, fellas.
And we're watching the battle of Class C at the moment. It's involving Doug Westwood, former historic touring car racer, and Hadrian Morel, who actually started this race yesterday in the leading Osborne Motorsport Renault McGowan, and looking to trying to get past the BMW, older model BMW, but a very new build car, the E36 M3, and they're finding pace with that car. It's a lot quicker this weekend than it was at Phillip Island. It's talked that the driver combination from the first round in Doug Westwood, who ran with Danny Sugden on tyres or fuel or something this weekend, may be back in this car for Queensland Raceway. They're doing a bit of driver juggling while they've got a fleet of drivers. Apparently Grant Elliott, who used to run in the development series as well as historic touring cars, has been labelled as a potential driver of that car at some stage too.
So looking at our front 3 cars at the moment, Ian Sherrin in the BMW, the slightly newer version, just behind Beric Linton. He's right on the hammer at the moment, so it's allowing Morris just to quietly skip away in the number 62 car. Got picked up a couple of times for curb hopping in the race earlier today. He's keeping his nose clean so far.
Yeah, what you're seeing there are those BMWs, the 1M, that's the white car, number 23, and the 135i. Similar engines, but slightly different aero and
Bigger tyres than the 1M.
bigger tyres. Yeah, and the Donut King 1M is actually a 135 that's been upgraded to a 1M, whereas this one is an actual 1M as it started. Actually crashed by a journalist, it got rolled, and it went for a good price.
Just had a change of position there as well. Car 13 sneaking on the inside there. Where are they? Down in the mid-pack there. So he's just making a little bit of a charge on the number 5 car.
That was the one we were talking about previously. Hadrian Morel on Doug Westwood. And Hadrian Morel takes that spot away. Because Hadrian's been doing quite a bit of Osborne Motorsport stuff over the years, as well as having a run in the Mark V8s. Had a run at the 12-hour in one of their cars. So very experienced, has been to the Nürburgring 24-hour race as well. But in the meantime, we go back to our race leaders. They're coming down to complete lap 5. This race, of course, will be scheduled to go 64 laps. And it's Paul Morris in front, Barry Clinton second, Ian Sharon in third, Rick Bates fourth. And they've put quite a gap now on Dean Fiore, who was challenging for the lead at the very start. Kyle Alford, the next one through, not Kyle Alford, Tony Alford, the next one through, and then as the timing up great dates us, Kyle Alford will be the next one, and then of course we look back to the Rod Salmon Evo is in position 8, and followed by Michael Sharon in the BMW. It started off the back, didn't get to all that many laps in yesterday due to limp mode issues, and that's being hounded at the moment by George Karadimas in the Falcon, and also the leader of Class C.
Yeah, car 86 out there, Andrew Turpie at the wheel. That's the Toyota GTS, the little two-door car they've had now for the last 2 or 3 years. Again, Gary, they had fuel delivery problems, and this time the tank was over-pressurising.
It's what they found they had to do was half fill the tank to stop it from spurting out the breather. So one would suspect that even on half of a fuel load, that they'll only need one stop for fuel, which will be part of the driver change anyway. But yeah, certainly an inconvenience more than a real drama, but if they may have to do a splash right near the end, but the car's renowned for its economy, so one would expect that still do the one stop.
So yesterday's results, just looking at how many laps everyone did. The race went for 53 laps before it was declared. The Karadimas Russell Falcon did 43. That's well and truly 75% race distance, so they'll be classified as a finisher and can drag points out of the weekend. No, that's good.
Yep.
That's good.
So
I guess 2 points. I guess 2 points or something they got allocated.
I can tell you actually, I've written them down here. 2 points.
That's what I said. 2 points out of yesterday, and it's good to see them doing so. And Paul Morris continues to lead this race. This battle for the micro cars is really hotting up.
Class C at the moment. Jason Walsh leading Alexander Best and Lee Naylor, the third of those cars. The black car unfortunately headbutted the concrete coming out of the last corner fairly late in the race, and wasn't a finisher, but very strong. Nothing between the cars. Their lap times were almost, their second times were almost identical. 2 tenths of a second splits the three of them. So very intense battle going on there. Equally so, the race at the front is certainly strengthened as Beric Litton looks to take the lead off Paul Morris. Ian Sharon sitting right in behind him, and Rick Bates ready to pounce on anything. And I think
it's actually the closest they've been since the start of the race, isn't it? They're all starting to punch up behind Paul Morris now.
Yeah, what we tried to allude to yesterday, we really think the race won't come alive until after the pit stops, but it's looking pretty lively at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, they're certainly trying to make every goal place. Look at this little bunch coming down the straight now. In fact, they're fighting it out for the last place on the road, but it's a class battle.
And it's going to be they're going to be lap traffic in no time.
Yeah, and they'll probably continue to go all the way to the... Oh, have a look at this. Linton going, streaming around the outside here. Paul Morris won't have any of that in the tyre right. 250k production car race here today.
And you notice
wide with Paul Morris.
You notice Paul doesn't go right out to the outside. He tempts to let the opponent or his rival go down the outside,
And that's
then
what
he
just-
knows he can't do it.
Just seen the number 1 car there of Ian Sharon, big understeer, and he's going to lose a substantial amount of track position there and probably fall into the clutches of Rick Bates, big understeer. That sucker punch you were just talking about, Gaz, as you were talking about, it was exactly what Ian Sharon fell for.
And I don't, it's a sort of battle where you can get back onto their tail fairly quickly as well. And we're already seeing Ian Sharon hasn't lost a lot of time, and it'd only take one demon brake move and he's back right behind him. But what we were also seeing from the second place car yesterday was an ABS problem, and by numerous tapping on the brakes actually got to fix the problem towards the end of the race. And we talk about pad knockoff, and what we expected to be pad knockoff was actually trying to rectify the ABS.
Mixing out with the tail enders here now. We stay out of the way. In fact, the class cars did a ripper job yesterday staying out of the race for the outright lead.
And you notice too that when Paul goes past one, he actually slots back in like if he's in the overtaking lane, and it doesn't stay out there.
Yep.
So he can also pick up a little bit of a clean air pull for 10 or 15 metres.
He comes away from it, that's for sure.
But
Now look at this 135i now. It's right onto the back of the 1M of Eric Linton and on the back of Paul Morris. And churning through turn 1 past the Shannon's Nationals, the nationals.com.au sign. And up the inside, the 13M puts the red nose up beside the white car.
And you may have noticed too that, well, not noticed, but the Linton's car had a problem in qualifying with a crimped turbo hose. It had fractured, and they actually borrowed one from the Sherrans to get them to the race start. And the Sherrans were saying, who in our team decided to lend them that part so they could beat us?
I suppose when you become the new category manager, you've got to help everyone get on and stay on the track, don't you?
Well, they maintain that the fight is on the track, not off the track, so they help each other get there. And once they're on there, they're there to fight it out. Once they're off the track, it's all chummy again.
Just while we're settling into our routine here, we've got 9 laps down, we're into our 10th lap. We're joined by one of the all too few female drivers in Australian motorsport, Emily Duggan. Emily, good afternoon, thanks for coming up.
No worries, thanks for having me.
We were just talking before you came on about the fantastic view that we've got here, and it certainly helps with the beautiful weather we've had this weekend. You're up here just doing some observation. You were down at Wakefield Park recently. Give us a little bit of background of what's been your weekend so far.
Yeah, well, the weekend down here is just beautiful. You know, sunny weather always makes for really good racing. The view that you guys have here from the commentary box is unreal. I've never actually been over this side before, so it's the first time seeing it from a different angle, I guess. And yeah, you guys have a view of every single corner pretty much.
Emily, in your Kumo Tyres Vet touring car, I assure you it's a lot better view from the driver's seat than up here ever is.
Yeah.
It's certainly a lot better looking out over the Penrite stickers on the bonnet of your racing car.
Yeah, correct.
And all three of us would gladly swap with you any day of the week to take on that role. You jumped onto the Shannon's Nationals earlier on this year at Sandown. Very little practice jumping into full flight
no practice
V8
at all.
touring car. Well, no
Yeah.
practice at all, and pretty much off the back of the grid, but very steep learning curve for that first outing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a huge steep learning curve. You know, these cars are really hard to get off the line. So the first issue is, you know, getting that car off the line and then going down to turn 1 and kind of rumbling with the guys, I guess. So it was a big learning curve, but something that I took on and took on board and knew what I was going into. The smile, just couldn't get it off my face the whole time, pretty much.
And you've also, the previous round, also as support to V8 supercars as well. So you had the experience of being in front of a big crowd also at Winton.
Yeah, I was actually in the commentary box for that one, unfortunately not racing. But no, I got to hop in the commentary box with Lachlan Mansell and Richard Crow, and a lot of fun in there. Definitely the second best seat of the house, I would say.
Yeah, Winton's an interesting place to do some commentary from, and especially if you're in there in the depths of winter, and we've been lucky enough to get some reasonably warm weather here, as we've talked about. You also mentioned you've got some endurance racing coming up, Emily. Just give us a bit of an overview of what's happening there.
Yeah, so the endurance race is with the Series X3. It's down at Wakefield Park. It's definitely going to be a tough one. I've decided to do it all by myself, which will be a lot of seat time and a lot of fun, I'm sure. But it's just kind of sorting out strategy and tactics, I guess, is the real hard part.
What sort of car is it you'll be racing?
Series X3 XL.
So you've got the XL series. How are you finding the actual feedback from people inside that XL series? Because we've had it here a few times. I've never seen anybody come out with anything less than a huge smile on their face.
This series just is so much fun. I mean, you guys were talking about Paul Morris and the Sharons and how they were switching. They gave something off another car. It's the same kind of camaraderie down at the with the XLs. It's everyone's in there to have fun and just to be on the track. The more on the track, the better.
Yeah, it's an endurance race. How long?
So it goes for about an hour.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it should be a tough one, but it should be able to do it by myself. We'll see how long the mine goes for.
So I'd say with that sort of experience too, you must be looking at maybe an endurance drive in one of these production car races. We've got a 4-hour coming up here in November, plus a couple of 2 driver races at Queensland Raceway in about 4 weeks' time. There'd be a good learning curve to get in maybe a Suzuki Swift or something like that and have a run in one of those.
Yeah, definitely. These cars look amazing. You know, the category looks like an amazing category to be in. Doing the XL for 1 hour would definitely give me a lot of seat time and a lot of practice for a 4-hour race. So yeah, looking forward to getting more practice for that.
We look forward to seeing you. Hopefully you can string some sort of deal together. Just while we're just talking then, the Petters Toyota has been the first one into the pits, and that would not be scheduled, I would imagine, coming in after just 11 laps. I would assume, would be a problem with fuel. As it,
just heading down to the garage now.
Yeah, so we won't be able to see a great deal. Maybe they're just going to fuel. It looks like they're having a driver. Their driver's getting out of that car, so obviously they've planned that very early.
Just seen a tyre come off as well by the looks of it too, Gary, the left rear.
Maybe it's a puncture of some sort, but certainly in earlier than we expected. We'll probably get an update on that at some stage. Great battle going on for second position at the moment, with Rick Bates having elevated himself to third and now putting all sorts of pressure on Berwick Linton to try and get away second spot. I guess at this stage, with a 2.3 second lead, they don't want Paul Morris to be any further up the road than where he currently is, and they would obviously Rick Bates, who has proven to be the fastest in the category, would be the one that they would be trying to get further up the field and give Bob Pearson the best opportunity when he jumps in the car later.
Yeah, he's just having a nice little look on the inside there of Linton as they came out of 15, and you can see it's now Darren Smith pointed out a little while ago just how rich that car is, running a few puffs of smoke as they do the up change of the gears. Emily, just coming back to what you've got happening, doing in the Kumho Tyres series, unusual to see a young female in that kind of category. What sort of attitude are you finding from the category? Obviously, it would be fairly positive. You're getting sort of, lots of positive feedback from female fans as well.
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, I'm still a driver. Being male or female, it really doesn't matter. It's car racing and motorsport. It's not gender specific. So everyone's been really nice. I'm treated just like any other driver out there, really. So yeah, it's been good so far.
I suspect that may change when you start thinking.
Well, there is a few younger drivers, people like Todd Hazelwood, for example, who's been doing that for a couple of years now. It's certainly great to see more and more younger drivers getting involved in motorsport. Gary, I think we've talked about some of the 15-year-old drivers that are here this weekend.
We've got Alexander Best, who's currently 15 or 16, and Liam Thompson sharing that car, 31 between the two of them, so very young. And then you look at some of the elder statesmen of the sport that could probably triple those figures without any problems at all between two drivers.
Easy enough to do. Difference between driving an XL versus a V8 supercar, obviously it's going to be quite a mammoth head change to get around when you're doing that once you hop in.
Yeah, definitely. The XL is front-wheel drive, and I think it barely just gets 80 horsepower, and the V8 is rear-wheel drive at 600 horsepower, so it is phenomenally different. You know, I've been asked that question quite a lot. At the end of the day, you're still on a racetrack. You still, you know, come out wide, find the apex, and then exit the corner. So no matter if you're in a front-wheel drive with 80 horsepower to a rear-wheel drive with 600 horsepower, you're still going through the motions, and you're still trying to feel the car and feeling what it's reacting like. But yes, in the end, it's a huge stepping stone.
When you finish a race, what's the sort of debriefing procedure? What do you do yourself to just sort of, okay, I've done my race, I just need to cool down? What's your sort of rundown?
I like to check over the car, make sure that everything's kind of in the same place as where I started the race in. And then I just talk with my engineer. We go through race footage. We also go through data, just kind of, you know, digress everything and just making sure that every little part that I'm doing right that I know about, and every part that I'm doing wrong I also know about, so that I can go back out there. Then between races, it's just about having a little bit of fun, you know, get out there, watch some racing. I'm a huge fan of, once I finish a race, to go back out and watch a race. I think you learn a lot, and you can watch other people's lines. You know, it might be a different car, but it's still racing at the end of the day. And then before the next race is just, you know, breathing, say a few affirmations, and go back through that data, and then hop back in the car.
We had that with John Collins, who was up here earlier, just not getting a drive this year, and he's saying, yeah, it's the opportunity to see what the other drivers are doing from this kind of perspective, as opposed to seeing somebody in front, somebody behind, and focusing on those. So you really do get a different kind of view, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things about the Excel series, it's all the same drivers. So there was one time where I wasn't able to race. I went out there. You can actually watch the drivers that you know that you will be around, and you can kind of find out where their weak spots are, and then use that in the next race that you are up against them. So sometimes it's quite a good thing to stand back and be a spectator.
I think, Gary, might have just seen a change of position there with Rick Bates getting on the inside of Berwick Linton, coming down into turn one. Yeah,
well, actually, you got him at the last corner, 17 or whatever it is, up the top of the straight, and then Bates had to plot and plan his way of defending Linton off him as they went down to turn one, because Linton actually got down the outside of him and almost got the position back. But as live stream footage shows you, Rick Bates has held position, and now once he's got ahead of Linton, he's actually extended that lead out to 0.7 of a second pretty smartly. And I think Bates is on a mission now to get back to Paul Morris, take that position off him, and try and dictate the pace of this race until he hands over to Bob Pearson for the second half.
So at the moment it is Paul Morris leading, and he's got a gap of just over 2 seconds according to our current timing to Rick Bates. As we mentioned, there's Berwick Linton in there as well. We've got Grant Phillips in the number 86 car, who was released just a half a lap or so ago, got caught up in that just for a moment, and has allowed the top three to skid away through. Let's have a look at where we are overall. We go down to position number 13 before we see the first of the lap cars, which is currently car 31.
Yeah, the Petters stop was scheduled. They've gone early, and looks like they've had their driver change as well. Car 86, Grant Phillips now in the car. Ian Turpey started it, so they've obviously gone, because they had limited time in the car yesterday, or Grant had limited time in the car yesterday, probably given them a longer stint today. And I think Andrew Turpey's done. I said Ian, didn't I?
You did.
Andrew. The price is right. To give Grant the full 1 hour and 45 minutes or thereabouts in the car for lacking seat time yesterday.
Daz, you've had a little bit of a break, a little bit of a refresh, and how are you seeing the race as we're sitting with 48 laps to go?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's ticking by quite nicely at the moment. Paul Morris is clearly commanding this race. He's got the strengths there. It's good to see Rick Bates making a comeback in the Evo. They've been the dominant force for about 8 seasons now in production car racing, the Evos. Berwick Linton hanging in there. I was just listening to the conversation with Emily and the XL type racing, and natural progression. XL certainly to me is not a Kumho tyres touring car. It's probably more like a production car like we've got out on track now. So Emily did the XL racing, obviously production type based racing as well. You know, these cars are pretty quick. Do you have any aspirations to do any production car type racing?
Yeah, definitely. The production series is, yeah, it's amazing. The cars are good. The competitiveness between the cars with the XLs, it's a one-make series. You know, same can kind of be said about the V8s. It's, you know, it's either Holden or Ford. Where this, you know, it's a whole range of different cars. So there's different strengths and different weaknesses for each car between each corner or straight.
The XL's Group 3E.
Yes, I do believe so.
Makes
so I
them
can jump in
eligible for
and
this.
come
You
in.
can bring your XL along and run in this series. Bring along all your competitors as well. I know the Nissan Pulsar series, those cars, one of them ran in the 6 hour at Bathurst and did pretty well. You'd be up against the Suzuki's, I would imagine, and the Toyota Echo. Be interesting variants on what they've already got.
Yeah, definitely.
What's next on your calendar, Emily?
Next is the Enduro, so that's the 16th, I think, and then the week after that is the Kumho's down in Queensland.
You've got a fair bit of good racing time coming up. Thank you so much for coming up and joining us in commentary, and we'll no doubt catch up with you via Lockie with his checkered flag media aspirationals as he gets that underway down at Winton and of course down at Wakefield Park in the near future.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys.
We've just seen one of the Suzuki's ran wide, it would be probably the best way of describing it. George Karadimas was coming through to put a lap on it, and he just, the Suzuki thought, I'm getting out of here, I'm not staying anywhere near what that's happening. That happened down at turn 14, and rather than have contact, just got right out of it, and that meant going off the track, outside the lines of the track. Let's hope they don't get penalty for that.
Well, they've been very, very red hot on that here at Sydney Motorsport Park for some time now, so they do want to watch that. They've got dedicated trackside people watching for that, so they'll give you the warning shot. When you get that one, then any sort of further indiscretions, you're going to be pinged for it.
There goes car 19, the second of the Class B cars. That's the high-performance BMW 135i, driven by Michael Sharon at the moment. David Ayres, we'll get into that later. And of course, we've seen that car go from last to first in the first inning. David Russell at the wheel at Phillip Island. Magic drive, and because David Ayres wasn't available for the race, and David Russell was signed off by all competitors and allowed to start. And I suppose they proved that fact when he went past them. But certainly good backup for that two-car team.
The Falcon going very, very wide now off 4.
I think he might have a puncher or something, because he had dramas down here at turn 14 the last lap, where I said he ran.
Yeah, going down through the field too. Donnie has gone through.
He ran wide and ran a Suzuki wide at the same time. I think he's got a puncher. They had some brake issues after the race yesterday, after they made the repairs to the car. But I was talking to George Karadimas after the warm-up, and he said, no, all the brakes are fine. Car's trucking along just nicely, but you can't really predict punches, can you?
No, that's not ideal for those guys.
And it's on the non-working side of the car as well, on the left. Usually it's the right front that gets all the work around here. So bad luck to them. They're just out of turn 14, trying to get back to the pits. We just hope it's a puncher, because that means that they can fix that, do their stop now, and it may give Jeff Russell a bit more time in the car than what was planned, but it certainly makes sense to get the time, get their stop out of the way as well.
Yeah, we'll find out in just a second if that's the case. And just coming out of 18 now, it's been a bit of a disappointing weekend, Daz, for that particular car. Of course, that incident yesterday where there was a contact with the Renault Megane. And this time now, as Gary's pointed out, potentially a flat tyre on the front left, which is, as Gary pointed out, quite unusual given the loads that we normally expect to see here.
Yeah, well, that's what we're getting from pit lane. It is, in fact, a left front puncher. And certainly had some damage on the right front wheel of that car yesterday after
Have we
contact.
completed enough race distance yet to do the driver change legally and let let it go through to the end?
Yeah, I think so. You're allowed a maximum of 1 hour 45 minutes.
Yeah, well, I think that's
covers
we could do that. They can do the drive change now. Whether they choose to or not is
Up to them.
completely up to them. But 45 laps remaining, 19 laps completed, coming up to 20 laps completed. So I guess that's 1/3 race distance done and dusted. And we are going to be pushing the envelope for light again today, I would suspect.
Just on 5 o'clock if we stay, all things being equal, tap wood and all that kind of thing, where we are right now.
We had 3 safety cars yesterday, none so far today. So that's pretty much the way of the world, isn't it? We always find that when we have these 2 race events, the Saturday one seems to throw up all the controversy and all the excitement, and the Sunday race is a little bit more steady. Maybe they learned from the Saturday race.
Oh, there was a production car race here a few years ago on a Sunday afternoon that was clouded in controversy, Gaz.
Yeah, but that was only one race for the weekend.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, still clouded in controversy.
Well, what's it? If you can't see the checkered flag and you want to do a late pit stop, what are you supposed to do?
You can't see the funny side of that. I don't know. Where's your sense of humour?
Well, I'd say if you don't see the funny side of that, you weren't in the car.
Exactly, you weren't paying the bills that weekend, that's right. So the Falcon comes storming back out on the exit lane there up to turn 2, and it's got the car that's it was running against in Class C, now well up the road, and got a lap down on the Frank Donahue, Francois Joy McGann. There's the number 23, currently sitting in position 3 behind Rick Bates, who's now leading the race over Paul Morris in the Evo.
Carradine back out on track as well, so a very quick pit stop for that one.
Still have to do a driver change.
Yep.
So they've opted not to put Jeff Russell in it at this point and continue with George at the wheel. But it's Bates in front by 1.16 seconds, Morris second, Linton third. All Class A cars. We've got Ben Sheridan in 4th spot, who we can see trailing Linton at the moment as they go around through turn 13, around the Corporate Hill.
Frank Donahue, a big lock-up into 6th that time through as well, just trying to get out of the way of the leaders as they start to come through the field.
Yeah, well, we learned from yesterday, it's best to stay out of the way. Don't fight for the spot.
I reckon the class cars did a fantastic job yesterday of not interfering in the front part of the race. The production cars is always going to be a variation of performance, and I suppose one of the nuances of that style of racing is that they are going to come through. It's inevitable at some point.
Yeah, lock-up's actually dropped a couple of positions for Donio as well, as we see the other Sheridan car 19 getting through on him.
Yeah, well, that should be quicker anyway. It started from the rear of the grid. Actually, I don't think that's really changed that much because there's a 19 car on its own. So we've got timing glitches happening, I think, is what our problem is. And still the Audi number 2 without its windscreen motors on and currently in position 5 ahead of Kyle Orford in, actually, because the timing hasn't upgraded, it should still have Tony Orford, then Kyle Orford is the next 2. But
Tony Orford in 6, Kyle Orford in 7, Rod Salmon in 8. That Evo's certainly not running like an Evo should.
Adrian Morel just passes car 10, which is Jason, that's Lee Naylor in the black Suzuki. That was the one that had the incident up at the final corner late in the race. They managed to get it back to the pits, but it took no further part in the race, but good to see it back and running today. So the 3 cars that had incidents yesterday were all back in the race today. Actually, 2 of them got back into the race yesterday. So.
Doug Westwood, E36 BMW M3, tracing Hadrian Morale in the McGann RS.
Class winner from yesterday, the Westwood Chet Parish car. 1 Class C. A lot of the rivals fell by the wayside, and the other rivals actually got caught up with the mandatory pit stop and the congestion.
G Class C is different without Jack Camilleri out there pushing for the lead of the race, isn't it?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the last couple of seasons haven't been kind to that combination with engine detonations and other things happening there, and Jake's obviously opted to go down Mark Australia's car route.
He's certainly doing well with it too.
And doing very well with it.
Yeah, after a few seasons of reliability issues and dramas, it'd be nice to sit in the car that starts and goes every time you get in it.
Yeah, and I mean that Mazda MP3 MPS has been a class winner in its day, very dominant. I've seen it race at Simmons Plains once and beat the Evo 9s down there back in its day because great car in the wet.
Oh, and Jacob was always fast. We nicknamed it the Giant Killer there for a while. When it was on, it was on.
Yeah, he certainly had that car pretty well dialed into his own driving style, didn't he?
Yeah, Scott Nicholas joined in with it for a while as well. He was just as quick in that car, so they combined well. When the car held in there for them, it was a good
class
piece
winner,
of kit. Yeah.
and it was usually on the podium somewhere in the outright
Yeah,
stage.
it could be in an outright position for sure. Seeing Tony Alford now just pushing his way through on Doug Westwood, and he'll work onto the back of the Osborne Motorsport car of Hadrian Morrell.
Still this battle goes on between the BMWs for third and fourth position. The Class A car there, the white number 23, and of course right behind it the Class B car. The number one car, as it turns out, this is the one that won the championship last year and still going pretty strong here today. Similar engine, but slight other variations in the two cars. You can see in the bodywork slightly different around the front and rear. The guards are a little bit wider, the tyres are a bit bigger.
Yeah, it's a little bit more meaty, a little bit more handling underneath as well. Let's have a look at where we are. We've got 41 laps remaining in this scheduled 64-lap race. And we see Rick Bates leading, Paul Morris, Beric Linton, Ian Sherrin, Dean Fiore, Kyle Orford and Rod Salmon are currently your top 7 on the lead lap. And unfortunately we're hearing that car 62 is about to get a bad sportsmanship flag for curb hopping yet again. Then we go to Donio, Sherrin and Orford are your top 10. Hadrian Morrell, Westwood, Galang, Black, Karadimas, Naylor, Walsh, Best and Phillips, the 19 cars on track with a gap of 2.5 laps between first and 19th.
Yeah, well, curb hopping is probably the wrong word because there's no actual curbs there. It's going outside the extension of the track.
It's gaining an unfair advantage by going out over the control line. Ordinarily, there would be grass there and you'd be off.
Yeah, but put the track down to the yellow line, go over it, then you get pink.
Yeah. Why, I don't know. Just use it. Tracks there,
Well, that's
right to the fence to be used.
No, well, it's not as though we've got a pit entry at that point at this meeting. No, obviously, when they use the Amaroo circuit layout, it is the entry to the circuit from the pits, and that's why it's there in the first place. But at a meeting like this, and I think the V8 guys brought it up last year, you know, the track's there, why not we use it? Or else take it away, put a couple of concrete boulders there or something. Stop using it.
Yeah, you'd bounce off those pretty well and find out not the ideal place to be doing things like that.
You don't really want to tell Lee Holdsworth that story at the moment.
No.
Yeah, what's the latest on him, Gaz, do you know?
Out for, definitely out for Townsville, definitely out for Queensland Raceway, maybe back for this meeting here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Well, they've used every nuance in the book to get that car back on the track.
Well, they haven't. They're not using it.
I mean, sorry, to get another car to get that entry back
Well,
on
it's
the track.
it's another AAA car, Jake Kostecki's car from the development series, which was a AAA main game player, and of course Kostecki works at AAA, so I suppose that'll all work together. You'll get some better support if you donate your car.
Yep, for sure. Here's some love coming your way to keep another one of the main game customers happy.
Yeah.
Certainly, it looked like it was all falling nicely. Carl Ryan was way there for a bit, didn't it? Looked like he was going to get a couple of extra practice race meetings before the endurance.
Well, I dare say that Queensland Raceway meeting might be Carl's to get back in the seat of the refurbished number 18. But still plenty going on here, and this battle continues between Beric Linton and Ian Sherrin to be who is going to be the second placed of the BMWs, battling for third, and Sherrin has another look as they exit 14. He seems to have a different line there, and maybe he's just wanting a little bit of cooler air, but shouldn't be much difference between these two cars in a straight line.
So it's quite deceptive, that point of view, looking straight down that little piece of road. It almost looks like he's right on the exhaust of the car that's in front of him. As we see them come out of 18, this will complete lap number 26. And the gap will be between Bates and Morris, just on 2.1 seconds, and almost identical, about a tenth between them on that 25th lap, Gary.
Yeah, and this is a great battle going on in Class C between Adrian Morrell and Doug Westwood. They're currently fighting it out for second and third in Class C and 11th and 12th in the outright stakes. Frank Donu currently leads Class C in the network loading Grenoble game. He's a little bit further up the track in position 9. Michael Sheeran in between them, and that's Michael we're seeing on screen there, just about to have a lap put on him by the Donut King Audi, driven by Tony Orford at this point, looking to go inside him down into turn 2. Not quite close enough there, and I dare say it won't be too long before we see that car relegated by one of our leading Class A cars. Further up the track, Tony Orford currently in position 6. His son Kyle, at one of his early meetings, he's in the I class, even though that's an A class car, because the amount of experience Kyle's had in the car. The guy that stepped into that car yesterday, turned 18 yesterday, in Aaron Seaton, he's had a lot more experience, and for 18 years old, certainly carving a niche in motorsport that resembles what happens in the Seaton family all the way through.
There's that move you were talking about, Gary. The 54 car's just got on through finally.
Now putting a lap on Rod Salmon, so he's a Class A and a Class B car passing another Class A car. Turbo boost issues for this car. They thought they had it sorted after the warm-up this morning. The car probably is circulating a little bit quicker than it did yesterday, but certainly not up at the pace of, say, well, our race leader is who's in a similar sort of car.
You certainly wouldn't have said on Friday morning, I expect that Rod Salmon will be getting lapped after 25 laps on Sunday afternoon. That would not have been something you would have thought. You would have maybe thought Rod Salmon would be lapping people.
Yeah, we didn't expect that, but an ex-Gary Holt car, and it's been a race winner in the past, so we know it's a good, strong car. And we were saying yesterday that Rod Salmon drove that car in combined sedans as a support category to the 6 hour at Easter at Bathurst, and actually won the chassis part of that last race, beating a production sports Chev Corvette across the line.
Change of position on track now. This is for
not much room
11 and 12.
Not much room there. Put the blinker on.
Hazards
on the
on,
inside.
in fact.
Got squeezed for room there a little bit. The mirrors, it took the mirror off, so that's how close it was.
I thought that was a glove out the window waving him by then, but no such chance. The mirrors come off.
Yeah, we've got Kyle Alford coming into the pits. This, I would imagine, after 25 laps, would be scheduled 26 laps down, and I would suspect that at this point that perhaps Aaron Seaton will jump in it for the run to the flag. They went long yesterday before they made their first pit stop.
Well, we're almost at half race distance.
Yeah.
Almost, sort of a couple of laps off being half race distance. So
26 down, 37 to go. So yeah, almost. It's
as good as good. It's clear as mud. Fuel going in.
Yeah, it's definitely a scheduled stop by the look of it. Will be a driver change. We suspect that they may. It looks like they haven't done any tyres at this stage. Look at
here they go. Now they're doing tyres.
They'll do both right-hand tyres.
Smoking brakes at the front too.
Yeah, that's. You always got to be a bit careful that if you leave it too long, the pads actually weld onto the rotor. So you just got to be a little bit careful.
Generally, as you pull the wheel off, they'll give it a bit of a turn and make sure it's not sitting on the same spot. The worst thing about that sitting stationary is you crack a disc, you end up with heat sink right in one concentrated spot, and you get a crack from the inner hub right to the outside, and that is the end of your race.
Of course, Aaron Seaton drove Barry Glenn's car at the Phillip Island round, and has switched over to this one with Tim Lay now slotted into. Will be slotted into the number 23 car later. So there's been a bit of driver changes. Rick Bates drove with Colin Osborne at the first
62
round.
getting the curbs now.
That's still Morris.
Still Morris.
Yeah, he's had another warning.
I think the third one you're in for a drive-through, aren't you?
So our leader at the moment is Rick Bates, leading by 2.5 seconds over car 62, Paul Morris at the wheel, Daz and Barry Linton hanging on. He's not doing too much different out of his laps. He's about 0.5 second per lap at the moment off the Morris-driven BMW.
Gee, an ex-supercar driver being told to stay off the curbs.
Yeah, would
Made a
make
career out of curbs.
Yeah. And we know the dude in the past is when he's been told to do something that he doesn't want to do, it doesn't go down that well.
What is it, conformance disorder or something like that?
Yeah. Just Bob Pearson in the pits waiting to jump aboard the car that he owns, the number 33 Product Evo 10. And I noticed that it is using, it has got a rich fuel mixture by the look of it. We're just watching that shot into the sun out of the final corner, and there's a lot of fuel.
Like it's almost having a brake lock up there on overrun.
Well, look, you see the amount of smoke coming out of the back of it. So
the colour of the rear bumper as well, fellas. Look how dirty it is.
Yeah, maybe there might be an issue with this car if it's spraying that much out of the back.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it's got an issue, the rest of the field have got a bigger issue because he's leading the way.
Yeah, well, the fact that he's got a fair bit of flame on the change down, it gives you an indication, as you both pointed out, maybe it's a little bit too rich.
And it's an orange flame too, which generally leads to the fact that there might be a bit of oil in there. If it's a pure fuel flame, it tends to be bluer.
More bluer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at car 13, the Hadrian Morel car now in the pits, which would be scheduled as well. And of course, this time yesterday, they were all scampering pits because we had a safety car out. And the problem yesterday was that because all the, along the pit lane, all the production cars are all pitted up together or garaged together, there was no room for anyone to work on cars. So they had to sort of wait till someone got in and out before they could find a spot to get service, as it were.
So car 13, as Gaz pointed out, Hadrian Morel at the wheel coming in. That's in mid-pack at the moment.
And looks like a driver change happening there. Colin Osborne will jump on board that car to finish the race off. Been a very good year for Colin Osborne. They got a third when he had Rick Bates in with him at Phillip Island, third outright. And they normally, if you go past an Osborne Motorsport thing, they're working well into the night on their cars. But on Saturday, they're all packed up very early and virtually nothing to do. Toyota Echo now makes its way into the pit lane with Alexander Best at the wheel, followed in by Tony Alford.
Done a great job too, Alexandra has. In fact, both herself and Liam Thompson have acquitted themselves excellently this weekend. They've stayed out of the way, they've stayed out of trouble. They've even given themselves a half-decent result too. So congratulations to a couple of such young competitors that to bring the car this far into the weekend undamaged. And I dare say testament to the crew that worked very hard behind them to make sure it's all good.
Carly Black brings the Renault Clio in as well. Class D competitor, was leading that class. Wasn't early when, of course, the Pettis car came in for their early stop.
Colin Osborne now at the wheel of 13, exiting the pits.
So we're going through these mandatory pit stops. And once everyone gets through them, we'll have a better idea about where we go. Now, we suspect that the George Caradimas Jeff Russell car will have to make a second stop because they've had...
Tony Alford out, he's in.
Stewie Costera will jump aboard that car. Lost fourth gear yesterday, that's why they're...
they find it?
Yeah, apparently so. Because it's back in now.
Out at trackside?
Yeah, they probably went for a track walk this morning and thought,
there it
looks
is.
like our fourth gear.
That back in.
And Sharon's still at the wheel of the leading Class B car, currently in position 4. And they go to work on the Toyota Echo with Liam Thompson scheduled to jump aboard for the run to the flag. And they were leading Class C early, dropped to third behind two Suzukis in the latter part of that stint. And now all set for the run to the flag. And perhaps a good idea to get in and get ahead of those, do the undercut as they call it, get your pit stop out of the way, and if the safety car does emerge later, that will put them in good stead to perhaps repeat their win from yesterday.
34 laps remaining, half race distance completed in the tyre right Production Car 250 race here this afternoon at round 4 of the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals. Big thanks to Shannon's Insurance on 134646 for keeping this series going, and of course the new presenting partner in Penrite Oils throughout this weekend and right out throughout this season. It's Rick Bates that leads the way in Class A to Paul Morris and Berwick Linton in Class B, being led by Ian Sherrin. 5th on the road in Class A, Dean Fiore, and then 6th is Rod Salmon. 1st in Class C, and 7th on the road is Frank Donoghue in the Renault Megane. 2nd in Class B is the number 19, Michael Sherrin David Ayres car. 2nd in Class C, the Doug Westwood BMW E36 M3. And the only car in Class I, probably counted as an A-class car, Aaron Seaton on the road now in the number 55 BMW 1M. Tony Alford in the Donut King number 54 is sitting there in 11th place. Galang also coming into the pits now in Class C, currently sitting 3rd. 4th is Caradimus in Class C. Osborne 5th in Class C, and both Caradimus and Osborne have pitted. Then it's Grant Phillips leading the way in Class D over Barry Black. And there's a substantial lead in that Class 2, Gary Phillips. And then we go back to Naylor and Walsh.
And how close
Black
is that
and Liam
battle at the
Thompson.
moment? They're actually line astern after 28 odd laps. They're a couple of laps down on our race leaders. They're actually nose to tail. 2 GMC Motorsport Suzuki Swifts. There's another 5 out there if anyone's keen to get into this class. It's a roll up and lease drive arrangements, very cheap. And we had 3 cars down.
How much, roughly?
I did remember, but I thought
Very, very cheap.
it's cheap. You could afford it.
Gee, if I can afford them, anybody can do it. I can tell you on my pay.
No, you just get in contact with Greg Cox at GMC Motorsport. I'm sure they can work out some sort of deal. But
50 cents a week, I reckon I'll take that.
they've got 5
Over
cars.
30
to work
years.
with. You just trade one of your Aston Martins or Jaguars and you'll be right.
It has to be one of the small ones.
The most valuable one.
Absolutely.
No, but in all seriousness, it's a great introduction to motorsport. The Naylor boys, fresh from karting, they're having a go out there, young blokes, really enjoying it. And then you've got Jason Walsh and Paul Curry, guys who work for Greg Middleton's, Bob Middleton's Freightliner race team with the Chef Camaro and stuff for a long, long time. And really enjoying having a go themselves on if a mechanic can afford it, anyone can.
I'm going to leave that one right alone.
That's true.
Let's have a look at where we are. We have got up to half race distance. Not a whole lot changing at the top end of the field. We are seeing, though, more and more cars being put a lap down by our front runners. We only have 4 cars at the moment on the lead lap, and it only feels, Gary and Daz, just like 2 or 3 minutes ago we had 7.
It certainly changed quick, doesn't it? Considering yesterday we had a total of 6 cars finishing on the leading lap.
In fact, it's interesting enough that it's only the Leigh Linton car out of that top 7 or 8, in fact, on the road, that have been pit side.
Yeah, and
Bates, Morris, Sherrin, first 3 cars on the road, not been into the pit lane yet.
and you also find that when they do, there'll be 5 cars on the lead lap as well, because they've only lost a lap because of taking their early stop. And as Doug Westwood brings in the number 5 BMW, was leading Class C, and Chad Parrish will jump into this car to do the second stint, and doing a pretty good job to be in front, obviously, because the Caradimus car's pitted, the Osborne car's pitted, and the second of the Osborne entries, Patrick Garland getting out of that car, and Scott Gore jumping into it. So it's a very tight battle. The class battles have been probably the best we've seen in quite a while within the Australian Production Car Series and its predecessors. We're seeing good battles in most all the classes. Perhaps probably Class B is the only one that's let down with just the 2 cars in it. But they've been, well, one of those has been strong enough to be an outright contender. First, a number of the Class E cars in car 9, Jason Walsh, we were just talking about it a minute ago. And Paul Curry will jump into this car to complete, but they were running nose to tail just prior to this stop.
Also hearing, guys, car 97, Carly and Barry Black's Renault Clio, they're being asked to keep an eye on that car by, or I should say the trackside officials being asked to keep an eye on that. I think there might be some fluid coming from the rear of that vehicle.
Yeah, it's possibly just overfilled and the breather's just expelling the
vapours that are too much in there.
Even expulsing.
Yeah, guess as good as expulsing things.
So just watching the Caradimas Falcon come into the lane now. This will be for a driver change. Earlier on it was for a punctured left front. Unusual here at Sydney Motorsport Park for that to fail. Here is the Falcon in the lane now, the number 34. And let's see what sort of service goes on here in the Herod Motorsport entry.
Car 19 in as well.
That'll be Michael Sheeran, who will hand off to David Ayres to take that one through to the checkered flag. Currently 10th.
Jeff Russell looking to get in. Big thumbs up from George Caradimas. Everything's great, mate. Get out there, thrash it, bring it home.
Don't thrash it. Thrashed yesterday.
Thrash the pants off it.
Paul Morris still at the wheel of car number 62 in second position. 4.77 seconds adrift of our race leader as we see the second of the Sharon cars taking on fuel. And of course the driver change with Michael Sheeran jumping out, getting the gloves off so he can help do up the belt buckles, and send his partner off to complete the laps. And just when Dave was talking about car 97, it comes up on screen, so they're just probably checking it to see if that breather pipe is still pushing some excess fuel out. Just ahead of him, of course, is the BMW of Aaron Seaton. Should be in about position 9 at this stage, and expect a strong run home from that car. Car led a lot of yesterday's race only because they stayed out longer, but it sort of brought it done a little bit at the end by being out so long, and without any more safety cars, they were always going to get caught behind. Similar situation to our race leader today, found themselves in Rick Bates and Bob Pearson, that they actually got caught by a safety car by pitting early. So it can work for you, it can work against you.
Yeah, it is one of those things, you look at your strategy, you look at your tactics, and you think, well, it's almost guaranteed there's going to be an intervention of some sort. And so far, however, we haven't seen one in this particular race. We do have 35 laps under the tyres for our lead runners. We have a look down at car number 15 and 19th. They've completed 30 laps. As our front runners go through, that's Bates leads Morris by 4.7 seconds now. So just a couple of tenths every lap, the lead's been extended there, guys.
Yeah, and also we look back down the order, you'll see that Tim Lay's now in car 23. He's about to get a lap back on Dean Fiore in the Audi. They're close together on track. About turn 2, I think you'll see where they are. Yeah, coming out of 3 actually. And Lay has got ahead of Fiore. And that'll be small strategy at this pace. So of course Lay, the only one of that top group that's actually pitted. Still lots of smoke coming out of the lead car and flames to suit.
You're just having a look at the Grant Phillips car that was on screen. It was looking ugly through the corner there. It looked like the getting all sorts of crossed up, grabbing his attention all the way through the turn 1 and 2 part of the lap.
I hope you weren't talking about the colour scheme on it.
No. I just mean it didn't look like it was a nice ride. Looked like it was giving him not nice feedback to his wheel inputs. Let's put it that way.
And these, well, I was going to say these two been battling, but this is the second Sharon car just getting a lap on it by Lay as he moves his way back up towards the front of the field. Our race winner from yesterday, Rick Bates in the line, in the pit lane at the moment. So this is the expected changeover for our race leader.
It's 1 hour and 3 minutes to Rick Bates, and I dare say he'll be swapping over now to Bob Pearson, who will bring home the final 28 laps to go. So Morris now takes the lead. Bates opens the door. Very casually. Bob Pearson comes wandering around in the product.
Yeah, well, I think the stops are governed by the fuel input, so that's where your time is worked out on. Pearson jumps in the car. Bates helps do up the buckles and plug in the communications, and if they need it, water or gas as well, fluid intake. And we'll send him out. He'll have to deal with this setting sun as they go through turn 1, which may be a bit of an obstacle, although it didn't seem to affect anyone too badly. I'd never heard anyone saying anything bad about it yesterday. I guess it will be different when we're back here in November.
The big issue is the run down to the hairpin. That's where they come around there. That's where they'll cop it the rest of the time pretty much on the straight. When it does get in your eyes, you've got the shadow of the grandstand there.
Yeah, of course, when we come back in November, the sun will be directly up pit straight because the sun sets further over.
So that's another two 250s. No, 4 hour.
One long race to finish off the Shannon's National season.
Like we did at the end of last year, right?
Basically, yeah. And the year before that.
Bit of tradition there, Dave.
Mate, I'm the most untraditional person you could find. But I'll go with that. It works for me. Speaking of tradition, got to ask you blokes, in all seriousness, the new Top Gear series, have you been watching that at all?
No. I suppose you've got to have been watching the old Top Gear series to have any interest in it.
No. Yeah. It's been okay, but we did hear the other day apparently one of the new hosts has been asked for a chat with one of the top BBC brass, so it could be yet again a change at how the show works.
Well, I think the old one, which will now be the new one, is coming on ITV in England, so we're going to have them up against each other.
Yeah, the Grand Tour, I think they called it, didn't they?
Here's Rod Salmon coming into the pits in the second of the Evos, car number 21. And as we alluded to before, turbo boost issues with that car throughout yesterday. And while the lap times haven't quite got on top of it, but it is better.
Yeah, we're just hearing a little bit more about car number 97, and very much what you suggested, Gaz, is that I think it is the overflow. So still monitoring, just to be sure. Just looking at the smoke of that Evo out there, and Daz, I think you're pretty much on the money. That's starting to look a little bit more like oil smoke, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not feeding the performance of the car.
Oil smoke.
Rick Bates got into the lead, and Bob Pearson's now at the wheel, and well, the only, I suppose, issue that we've seen with these sorts of turbo cars before after a pit stop is all the heat soak, without any air coming through the radiator, through the grill to keep things cool. Is that then we can have a failure if there's been sort of any lubrication issues into the turbocharger. And then you know about it when the turbocharge fails. It covers the whole track and blankets it in a white smoke. That's acceleration and that's mixture and mapping and all sorts of things going on there.
That's mainly fuel.
Yeah, it's not a good colour. It's not what you want to see. But then again, once it comes past us, it's when the sun is in the background and catching the particles in the air. That's when it looks pretty bad.
It's not one of those new diesel variants, is it?
Well, yeah, it could be. I know Motec are working very hard on diesel injection. I mean, the works cars at Le Mans and things like that have done it, and the Sky Active diesel cars with Mazda have done it. But Motec currently got a very, very strong program going and getting some amazing results with diesel fuels.
Might be a good opportunity, even though we've still got some of our front runners that are yet to pit, just to go through a quick rundown on where everyone's at. Paul Morris leads away. He's 8.6 seconds ahead of Ian Sherrin. That's Class A and Class B respectively. Dean Fiore in third, Tim Lay in fourth. Bob Pearson, who's just surrendered his spot to Lay, is in fifth spot. Aaron Seaton is sixth. And we'll just wait a sec because I think car 54 will move from, it's currently listed as ninth, but maybe a little bit higher than that, but we'll run with what on our timing at the moment. Frank Donahue is in seventh. Mark Griffith was returned in the Salmon Evo is in eighth, and then Chet Parrish is in 10th, second in Class C. David Ayres is in the second of the Class 3 cars in 11, Colin Osborne 12. Grant Phillips now back in the lead of Class D. We just seen him on screen not long ago in the Peters Toyota. Scott Gore in the second of the Osborne cars is in 14. Jeff Russell in the Falcon in 15th. Barry Black taken over the Class D Renault Clios in 16th spot. Then we've got Mitch Naylor in leading Class E car. That's the number 10 car. It's done its pit. Paul Curry in the second of the Swifts is the next one, and Liam Thompson is in the third of the Class E cars, currently 19th. But look for him to be fairly close to him at the moment. Watching sector times, a 22.5 from Naylor, a 23.7 from Thompson, and I suspect Curry will be somewhere in between those two. Oh, actually, it's with 25.1. So we'll just keep an eye on all these classes. It's now starting to develop in this run to the flag where we're going to see who the real quick guys are.
We did see a great lap from Aaron Seaton not that long ago. He got into the car at about lap number 29.30, I think it was, and comes out for lap number 31, puts down a 43.27. And just looking through, Gaz, in that top 5 or 6 cars, that's actually quite, well, we've got 3 or 4 cars in the 43-second bracket. Dean Fiore down to 44.1. That was way back at lap number 3. Stewie Costera, who's only just hopped in the car as well, a 44.4 for him. That was on 32. We go back to Gore, car number 31. They're on their 36th lap, and he's just done a 50.59, a 51.91 just on the lap he's completed a moment ago. So there's some good consistency within the classes as well.
I'm a bit surprised that some of these guys have run as long as they have. I would have thought they might have split the race in two, but not so, Daz.
Well, they seem to be keeping the quick drivers at the wheel whilst they can at the moment, particularly with our lead car. Being and Grant Sharon tend to go head-to-head with each other, so it sort of doesn't really matter which one of those two is at the wheel. And boy, that was having a bit of movement under the tyres, the car number 1.
Well, it's normally been Grant who's been the faster of the two, by not by much, mind you, very little in it.
Yeah, there's always very little in it.
And,
it's a couple between those. Dean Fiore at the wheel of the number 2 car, and Tim Lay currently at the wheel of the car on screen on the Nationals TV and the Motorsports TV. Yep.
But I suspect that Luke Searle will be as quick as Paul Morris in a car in these conditions.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, on that point, gents, how much race time, if we have a look at the drivers out there now, let's have a look at what we had yesterday. Are we seeing a bit of a balance, or are we still seeing some of the drivers yesterday doing the long distance
Well,
today?
I think a lot of them were triggered by the safety car at about the time, which is about halfway through the race. So, and we pretty well knew before the race started it wasn't going to go its full distance. So I guess they had to sort of hedge that into their calculations, where today we know that the race will go its full distance. Whether they're going to leave these drivers who are comfortable in the car where they're at to go around the 140 and then just throw the co-driver or the other driver in for a sprint to the flag, who knows? So everyone's got different ideas on what they should be doing.
At the moment, we're seeing Tim Lay trying to unlap himself from the number 1 car. Currently the number 1 on 40 laps and the number 23 on 39, so he needs to get the job done on the number 1 car.
Which hasn't pitted yet, by the way.
Correct, but it did for an advantage. Cup check and flag time, try and make as much inroads as you can at this point in time.
Sure.
But yeah, it is starting to move into the phase of the race. With 1 hour and 12 minutes, there's still plenty of time of compulsory driver change time.
Yeah, just looking at where we are on that, Daz, we've got an hour 12 has been completed with 23 laps remaining. If we go for an hour 40, Gaz, sort of looking at calculations for a long driver stint, we're going to be fairly close to, or maybe 8 or 9 laps left.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that we've just seen Tim Lay, well, we've seen Tim Lay go through on Ian Sharon, and to me that looked like a bit of a fatigue thing for Ian Sharon there. He sort of just gave up the ghost and said, yeah, righto, move on through. It's maybe about this time where the crew need to say, hey, lap times are slowly drooping off. We're losing a 10th here and a 10th there. Let's bring Ian in, plug in a healthy, happy and fully energised Grant and see if we can push this thing home to the flag. It's only 12 seconds away from Paul Morris. They've both still got to come into the pits, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
The odd ruling is that there's no mandatory pit stop, but there's a mandatory driver change. So unless you take your co-driver with you, there's no way you can do it without a pit stop.
Stewie Costera has been a little bit unremarkable since getting behind the wheel of the number 54 Audi TT. in position 7 currently. And actually, I think just conceding a position to teammate Aaron Seaton there.
Yeah, it looked like a 45.5 to 45.2.
Car 62 coming in.
So we've Morris in.
Race leader blinks.
Sharon's following him. So they were staying out until Morris stopped. But I think what they're gambling on is the fact that maybe Grant Sharon will be up to taking Luke Searle on.
Interesting tactics here at Sydney Motorsport Park as we come down to the final 22 laps of this 250 kilometre an hour race. 250 kilometre an hour race.
Kilometres only, not hours.
Exactly.
250 hours. Wow, there's a concept.
That's a good long race.
Like fortnight of race.
Speak a week, a couple of weeks to race.
Imagine call it that.
Wow.
Yeah, about 24 hours, add on another 10.
No, Daz, you cannot go outside.
No, not need to. Facilities in the back of the booth for that one.
Look at the smoke pouring off the brakes of that car as we've seen the long shot from up towards turn 18.
Yeah, that's always going to be all that brake dust. Is once it gets unsettled from inside the rim, it just goes everywhere.
So Ian Sharon out, Grant Sharon in. Paul Morris out.
That was a little slip they made yesterday. They rued the fact that they didn't do both tyres on the right-hand side. So they'd certainly address that today by doing both tyres this time round now as Luke Searle leaves the pits. And it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. We won't know until the end of the lap, obviously. But certainly the Road Chill BMW M135i, as it's known. And there goes the BMW 135i. Different body, as you can see. And Grant Sharon at the wheel of that car.
Still a good looking car, the 1M, isn't it? The 135i. Really ripper silhouette, tough looking stance, that hunkered down sort of look.
Almost got a muscle car look about it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's hunkered down, looks tough.
It's the long bonnet, the short tail, the two-door coupe. Yeah,
it's got that Staffordshire Terrier type of look about it. I'll play with you right till I'm tired.
Hang on for dear grim death as well, all the way through.
All the way to the end.
And just looking at car number 2, Dean Fiore now shown as our leader. And am I incorrect, Jensen, thinking he's about the only car, maybe one or two more, hasn't come in for a driver or a pit stop?
Frank Donahue hasn't pitted. Dean
Stuart hasn't pitted. That car's definitely pitted because Stuart didn't start the race.
Yeah, Tony Alford started, so they've skipped up there. But that car's had transponder problems, so that's probably why that hasn't updated. So we
Pearson up over the ripple strip there.
Desperate to try and get past, because actually Sharon's have passed Pearson. Well, kept maintaining their position ahead of the Pearson Bates car as a result of their pits. So Bob would be keen to get the Evo ahead of the Class B car, and equally so Grant Sharon will want to keep ahead of the Evo.
Yeah, just down to 15 they come, so backs to the setting sun. Down into 16, the nice little sweeper here at Sydney Motorsport Park before they do the double keyhole for 17 and 18.
And we must expect Dean Fiore will bring the leading car into the pits at some stage. His lead at the moment is 59.69 seconds, and I doubt if he can get in and out of the pits in that time. The car just comes through the final corner on this, its 91st lap.
Here he is, looks like he's heading, no, he's playing pass.
And keeps going. And currently 21 laps, 20 laps to go, 1 hour 17 minutes gone.
20 laps remaining.
So that's about, what, 35 minutes, thereabouts. So he would exceed his time in the car, but he still has to do the driver change anyway.
Fair bit of dust being kicked up between turns 1 and 2. Someone running out a little bit wide, not sure who that was. So far, just a couple of cars we've mentioned that need to come in. Dean Fiore, as Gary mentioned, has a gap between first and second of 58 seconds. And then it's another 27.5 seconds between Luke Searle, who's now in the 62 car, and Tim Lay in the 23. So to do that in the next lap or two, Gaz, they're not going to lose a huge amount of overall track space, are they?
Yeah, actually, someone must have ran off the track down there because that dust, there was a fair bit of dust down towards turn 2. But we haven't seen any vision of anyone overstepping the bounds.
Things are looking good for Dean Fiore and Mark Eddy.
Yeah,
Second lead.
yeah, I can't
Stop to remain.
I can't see them getting through the pits in that time though. What they've got to do: slow down, speed up, and coming from P5 before everyone else stops.
Yeah, I think the sooner the better they do it, to be honest.
Yeah, you're probably right. They've
Well,
got
the time's coming down. It's down to 57 seconds now. So if they're going to pit, they should do it as soon as possible.
Yep.
And
I think we're in agreement there.
So coming out of 18 is the car we're talking about, and let's have a look.
Yep.
Hit bound.
Away we go.
They must be listening to us.
Oh, you know what? We get it right occasionally, don't we?
Listening to the live stream on Nationals TV, the Motorsports TV app. I dare say someone's got us on digital radio somewhere as well. And let me tell you, an Audi TTRS would have to have digital DAB radio on board, wouldn't it?
I think so, wouldn't you?
It's one of the good
Hooked
things
into
about
the GPS.
And cup holders.
you got to have the cup holders.
But no windscreen.
Well,
Sans windscreen.
optional extra.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting to determine where this car will come out. Now, my feedback from initial investigation was that the Audi probably less fuel than what the others have had to use.
Well, because it doesn't have a windscreen. It's got a lot less weight.
No, it's not that. It's
Oh.
the fact that it uses less fuel. So if that's the
I
case,
reckon without the windscreen, it's probably using more fuel. There's a lot of buffeted air.
Keeping an eye on how long they're in. They're in at 40 seconds at the moment. They had 56 seconds up their sleeves.
This is cool on screen at the moment. Class battles being fought out. Car number 31, Scott Gore at the wheel now. Chasing down, it's still Grant Phillips, yep, at the wheel.
and they're actually fighting for outright position at the moment.
Yeah, car 86 up in the 13th position as well, gents. That's a nice little comeback for all the issues they had yesterday.
Yeah, and their early stop today, and that position just about to change as we speak. Going into turn 1, Scott Gore goes ahead, but I think Grant Phillips wouldn't mind getting it back if he can, and slots in behind the Renault Megane as they go through turn 1 and head down to the harsh braking of turn 2, and Gore covers his ground well to make sure there's no one going to slip down the inside of him. Actually, he runs a little bit wide going through and uses it like a double apex. And Scott Gore picks up the position. That moves him up to position 13. He's actually one position behind the team boss.
And the 86 comes through again. So strengths and weaknesses
He's
there.
now 2 positions behind the team.
Yeah. And all the meantime, it is Tim Lay charging through these guys. He'd be watching this battle and going, gee, I just need to get through these guys without being tangled up in this battle.
Well, it won't help. Oh, the black Renault Clio off the track. Looks like out of turn 3.
Number 2 leaving the pits now with Mark Eddy at the wheel in P5.
So Luke Searle takes over the lead of the race ahead of Tim Lay. This is the same situation we had yesterday. The Sharon's in 3rd spot. We've got exactly the same order as it finished yesterday, but the gap between 1st and 2nd is a fairly hefty 26 seconds at this stage. 8 back to Sharon and 1.5 seconds to Bob Pearson in 4th spot. So, and Mark Eddy rejoins, and the time will update, but around about 45 seconds further adrift as we see the 13 car, Colin Osborne, in the pits. This would not be a scheduled stop for the Class C car. Was running 3rd in class and in 12th position outright. So an unscheduled stop for the Osborne Motorsport lead car. And after all the good words we said about it, we're not saying anything more.
No, that's a shame for Colin to be came in position 12 and has already dropped to 14. As Phillips and Gore go through. Liam Thompson currently 19th on the road, and that is casting no aspersions on them. They've done a fantastic job with that little car. Stayed out of trouble. It's been driven well.
Okay, Osborne car's back out.
So that was a very quick one.
Yeah, they actually didn't do anything. Had a chat to Colin no movement on the car whatsoever.
A bit bored or something, was he?
Oh, I think he was just said, look, you know, can I go home now, or do we need to finish this race?
So
Mark Eddy at the wheel now of the TT, pushing on pretty hard. Sorry, Gary.
That's all right, Daz.
You would have had something way more important.
No,
than
I
me to
had
say.
nothing to say.
I was going to say, how good has Tyrite had it? They've had a couple of really, a foray into production car racing and two really good riveting races that we've had, one yesterday and one today.
Particularly yesterday's. If you want to catch up with some of the action from yesterday's race, don't forget to have a look at youtube.com and search for the Australian Production Car Series and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get a lot of in-car camera stuff from yesterday's race. You'll get stuff from the first round of the series that was held at Phillip Island in late May. So well worth having a look at. Keep up to date with what's happening with the Facebook page. You can find links to that off australianproductioncars.com.au and all the latest news and previews for upcoming events. And of course, the next round of this series is at Queensland Raceway in 4 weeks. The second of the Osborne cars in the pits. So this is very unscheduled, like to see the second car in as well. So both Osborne Motorsport cars have had to do a second stop. Not expected, as we see the Renault, the third of the Renault Macays now making a stop. So I wonder if they're going all for fuel. A splash of fuel to get them home, because we're going the full distance today.
Very possible, Gaz, yeah.
Three McGahns come through the pit lane with all within a lap of each other, and then something smells French.
They're putting fuel in the 31 car, and I suspect that may be the issue here too. So their fuel economy on the Renaults hasn't been great here, but it was quite good at Phillip Island.
Okay, so the first of those two cars is now on its way out. The other one has just stopped in. Just a quick reminder, of course, for those who are followers of the Muscle Car Masters. Gaz, I know this is one of the big events on your calendar. It's been shifted to Saturday the 29th and Sunday the 30th of October, so moving away from its traditional Father's Day weekend in September. We've also got the World Time Attack returning here. That's on the 14th and 15th of October as well.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to the Muscle Car Masters.
Always a big weekend here. It's our 12th running of that, I think.
Group N, Group A, Group C, Group S. Trans Am cars from Queensland.
Yes, they're coming back. They were fantastic to watch last year, and I think we might have Wes Beedman joining us again for that if we're lucky enough to do so.
See Wes in a fortnight at Lakeside. I'll say hello.
So Luke Searle leads. Yeah, he's undergone a bit of a transformation. Had one of those operations to give him a little bit of extra health, and he's looking absolutely fantastic as a result.
Head down a different path for that Dave. I wasn't sure where that was going. I don't know whether Wes had such a big change.
Discovered
it's a life-changing.
It was a life-changing.
I was thinking, has he gone religious or something?
Is it one of those operations?
Or did he go to Thailand for that operation? That's what I was thinking.
I'll leave it alone.
Where you were going with that, Dave?
Nothing wrong with any of that.
Well,
life's choices.
I'll tell Wes that you were making a mockery of his good health.
No. It's good to hear that he's back in good health.
We're actually making a mockery of your description.
Exactly, your description.
In the meantime, we've got a race going on here, and it's coming towards the wire. 1 hour and 27 minutes have passed. We've got 48 laps done. We've got about 15 or so to go, and certainly a gap between our race leader and second spot. Both BMWs, Luke Searle leading, Tim Lane second, 25 seconds to gap. Ian Sherrin's a further 5.7 seconds further back, and has extended the gap to the Mitsubishi Evo. The first non-BMW in the lineup to 4.3 seconds. Mark Eddy has drifted a little bit further away from the 44 seconds we had him a couple of laps to go, 52 seconds, with 2.5 seconds advantage over Aaron Seaton. So I would look at that to be the battle. The battle, of course, spit outline will be winding up in the closing stages as this race.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on those sector times to give us an idea of where that number 2 car, Mark Eddy, at the wheel, is very used to driving a Audi 2-door, isn't he, Gary? He's raced the bigger Audi versions up at the mountain on a couple of occasions.
The R8, yes. car. They've been fortunate enough to have some passenger rides in one of those at on Easter Monday. Exhilarating to say the least.
Yeah, it's a lovely track to drive, even at 60 k's an hour. I can only imagine what it's like to do it for real at around 200 odd in a car such as the R8 from Audi.
We hit 180 down Conrod Straight, and the thing didn't move an inch. Mind you, one of the esteemed journalists who did get to drive one said at 280 they moved around a little bit.
Still a good sign of the engineering involved. Yeah, certainly a very strong car indeed, as we saw that yesterday with that Audi TT that's on screen at the moment, having the bonnet flip up.
And we've just had a change of position there. Aaron Seaton has gone through on Mark Eddy, taken that position away. So Aaron Seaton up the 5th spot. He's 54 seconds behind Bob Pearson. 14 laps to go. That might be a bit of an ask at this late stage of the race, but we'll keep an eye on it. Anything can happen over the concluding stages. Actually, Tim Lay has just pulled half a second out of our race leader, but it's hard to determine whether that's going to be enough. And the interesting point here is that going on where they're finishing now, that Searle and Lay will finish equal on points for the round, 105, and obviously the round will go to Luke Searle and Paul Morris because they've won the second
Race wins, yep.
Over the Tim Lay Barry Clinton car, but good haul of points no matter how you look at it as far as chasing the championship now, the series win, and certainly with Luke Searle and Paul Morris winning the first round, backing up and winning this round certainly puts them in good stead with 2 rounds remaining.
It certainly leaves the guys in Class B, Brandy and Sharon, in a commanding position there as well.
Indeed it does, although they scored no points at the first round.
True too.
Now, I've just had a change in the timing monitor showing car 54 going into 5th, Seaton 6th, and that obviously then shuffles
we've
Eddie.
got that timing glitch with car 54.
So it's in and out, it's in and out.
Must
where
be just
it is.
a number, car 54, where are you? You remember that, wouldn't you, Dave?
No, definitely not. I don't know what you're talking about, actually.
It was a TV show, it was a police car, wasn't it?
It certainly was. It was the guy who played Herman Munster was one of the cops, car 54, where are you?
Exactly.
I don't know, the younger generations.
Kids these days.
No,
Kids in their mid-40s, crikey. What are they doing?
So at the moment it is Luke Searle versus Tim Lay, gap of 22 seconds between 1st and 2nd. And we're looking through to see if we've got any closer gaps. If we have a look down, where are we? Russell and Gore separated by about 4 seconds there, and not much left in regards to track space. Let's see, Phillips and Joy about the same there, down in position 86, position 11 and 12,
That's
car 86.
That's 1.1 seconds, so that's very close there. They're not in the same class, but they're fighting for outright positions. And currently with Francois Joy chasing down Grant Phillips, and he's just eaten about a second out of that gap. So very little between them. We'll just try and pick them up where they are in the circuit.
The 86 car, Gary, too, he's on track for a potential top 10 finish the way things are going.
Well, I think he'll lose the spot, the 88, very shortly. That will drop him back down to 12.
Well, if we go the other way for sure. So we've got 13 laps left. If we work on roughly 1:45 per lap, that should take us through to about 5 minutes past 5.
The sun will literally set on the second race of round 2 of the Australian Production Car Series.
Very poetic, Mr. O'Brien.
Pretty sure that's how it'll be written up at breakmarket.com.au. The sun sets on. It's be right off into the sunset. Oh, have a look at that. The fuel mixture coming out of the BMW as well. Actually, I'm actually thinking it's this sun and the colour of the light that's picking up on the particles in the exhaust there that's giving us a strange
And
view
we've had a change of position there. I think Bob Pearson has gone through on the Sharon car. Yeah,
He
the
has.
time is just updated, so there's been a change of position, and I just wonder if the Sharon BMW has an issue, because it's dropping time very quickly.
It's looking a bit smoky, actually, Gary.
Where you look at the gap between Pearson and Sharon as they exit the top part of the circuit to complete lap 52. And yeah, the Sharons have certainly got an issue. They're carrying on, but the gap is just blowing right out. It was the other way just moments ago, and now the gap is 5.3 seconds. So on that lap alone,
It dropped
Sharon
6.
a 151.9 as opposed to Pearson's 45.3. So definitely an issue for the leading Class B BMW. Their gap back to third place, to the next car, which we assume is Stuart Costera, although that has to be updated. At the moment it's saying Aaron Seaton, but we tend to think it is Stuart Costera. It updates now. That gap there is 27.7 seconds. That could change in 12 laps with no problems whatsoever.
Yeah, Sector 1, he's dropped another 2 seconds off the 33 of Pearson.
So it looks like we've got the number one car in some sort of difficulty out there, and just trying to get the thing home now with 11 laps.
Yeah, you just want to nursemaid it at the moment, wouldn't you?
Well, you don't want to leak too many positions. Is it something that's fixable, or do you persist with it and try and get it home?
At this stage, their nearest competitor is the 19 car, the team car, and it's 2 laps down. I'm going to say they're not losing that much time. 11 laps.
They're going to lose outright places.
Yeah, that's true. But if they come in, they're going to lose everything. At this point in time, bring it home. As soon as you come in, you're going to lose a lap.
Well, he's definitely slow. Look, he's just dropped 4 seconds on sector number 2. And it was a full 6 seconds on the lap previously, Gary, that they had dropped. So certainly something's ailing with the number 1 Sharon car.
It's hard to tell. It's not blowing smoke or anything.
At that rate, you're going to lose a minute. So you come into the pits, you're going to lose a minute.
Oh, agreed.
So
yeah, not disagreeing at all.
Perfect repairs, there's 2, 3, 5 minutes. So it's, if you can limp it, bring it home.
Yeah, it's good. I've just seen where the next car is, which we think is Stuart Costera, Mark, and the Tony Alford car. When it appears, here it comes now, and actually it doesn't look to be going real fast either. It just goes through, so they'll update that. He did a 48.2 on that lap.
2 Osborne Renaults line astern with each other. They've got the Tim Lay driven BMW in position 2 on the road.
Yeah, I think they're getting their form finish a bit too early, aren't they? And of course both those Renault Maganes have done second stops, along with the third one. And just to revise the order in Class C, Chad Parrish leads that class from Francois Joy. The gap 56 seconds. Third in the class is Jeff Russell in the Falcon. Colin Osborne and Scott Gauzer, 2 we see here with running line astern, and now in this spot in Class C. They're relatively speaking 14 to 15.
So what's pretty impressive is the Class E cars, the gap to the Class A cars. The leader of the race, 54 laps completed. The first Class E car is the Naylor car, 49 laps completed. Only lost 5 laps. We've got the 2 Megans side by side, the 31 and the 13. And they stream on through. Costera now on screen of the Donut King Audi TT RS. So the Class E cars, being that we haven't had safety cars, being that the Class E cars have run faultlessly,
yeah,
they're only 5 laps off the
they
pace.
just keep ticking over laps, and the gap now between Sharon just crosses the start-finish line. We see Costera coming through the final set of corners, so that gap is coming down all the time. I think with 10 laps remaining, there's certainly every chance that there'll be a change of position there. Whether Aaron Seaton can take advantage of it as well remains to be seen. The gap now, we'll wait till
17 seconds.
No, the gap is now 20.0 seconds between those two. And Aaron Seaton's a further 9 seconds away, so he could lose, Grant Sharon can lose spots to both the Donut King cars before the race ends. That's how close it's going to be. And even though Stuart Costera's times have fallen away as well, he did a 1:50.5 in the last lap, it's still going faster than the BMW. And we can see why it's blowing some smoke as well. The extra distance that they've had to put in today is starting to take its toll on those remaining cars as he negotiates his way past the was it the Renault Clio, which managed to get going again. So we've seen that stop off turn 3 earlier. So fortunately, Barry Black has got it back in the race, which is all good news.
All been at full race pace too, guys, because we haven't had any safety cars, we haven't had any slow laps, so they've been at 100% all the way through.
It's been remarkable how most of our 2 race weekends have always been all sorts of drama in the first one and just
Clean run in the second
clean
one.
run in the second.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Bob Pearson is getting through on the Westwood car. Currently not at the wheel, but
Yeah, Chad Parrish at the wheel of that car, leading Class C. And Bob Pearson, Grant Sheeran's last lap at 1:52.8, so still slower than Costera, but not nearly as badly. Costera goes through now. And a 1:50.0, so 17.2 seconds a gap. And we're just seeing where Aaron Seaton is. His times are a lot quicker. He's 2:24.5, so if he can get a bit closer to these guys, he may pass both.
Scott Gore, Colin Osborne battle that we're watching on screen now with the 2 Renault Meganes. That's actually for track position. That's for position on the road, not only in the class, but outright as well.
And Scott Gore's got ahead of Colin Osborne. I don't know how long that's allowed to happen, but it has. The boss is behind, and will be very much wanting to get back on track.
Just looking at the way that these 2 Renault Meganes were together a lap or 2, Gaz, I was starting to think maybe they're aiming for a formation finish, but you know what, they're actually not all that far apart in real lap terms anyway.
With the pair of them having to make that second stop, which was very much unpredicted, it certainly changed the what's happening here. But the third car, obviously the third Renault into the track also had issues, but now they've just got the Chad Parrish car in between them at the moment. So just be interested to see where Chad Parrish did a 52, Gore did a 53, Osborne 52. So they're all travelling about the same pace, but the car in between them is the actual one that's leading the class. And they're getting out of the way and letting him get on with it, which is probably the wise thing to do. And the class leader puts a lap on his class rivals. Another lap, yes. But the reliability's been there certainly with. And John Costera's off, so the Sherrans can breathe some relief. That,
And he's parking it too, right in front of the grandstand.
So after a fairly good run, lost 4th gear yesterday's race, and what sad circumstances, 8 laps to go, and that car has expired.
Well, Gary, that answers your question of car 54, where are you? He's right out in front of us.
Transponder issues throughout most of this race today, but now we'll bow out of P5.
Smoke pouring out of the left front wheel there.
Brakes possibly.
Down low. Yeah.
It's a little bit of something coming out from the right of that car as well, up towards the driver's position.
And the other interesting thing now is that Aaron Seaton trails Grant Sheeran by 11 seconds. He's signalling for a fire crew to get over there as soon as possible, so there must be some issue.
He's looking at the right front of the car.
And they are getting out of the way, so hard luck story there for them to be so close to the end. At Eastern Creek or Sydney Motorsport Park has been pretty cruel to Stuart Costera over a period of time, and has yet had more misfortune here as that car parks off the side of the road. But the interesting battle now is for 4th outright. Grant Sheeran and Aaron Seaton, both in BMWs, will dice it out over the final couple of laps of this race. And just seeing where both cars are on the track at the moment, and certainly Aaron Seaton lapping around 7 seconds a lap faster than Grant Sheeran. And we just want to pick up where they are on track. Well, Grant Sheeran is coming through the last series of corners at the top of the circuit, about to be lapped by Tim Lay by the look of it. He is. And we'll come through that corner. A lap down in position 4, and there is our position 5 car going through turn 5.
Still running faultlessly too at the moment. They're the team car stricken in the main straight. The Donut King Audi TTRS, but Aaron Seaton and Kyle Alford driving very well and
Change
getting
of
through
position.
on car number 1.
There
Change
goes
of position outright, but still the Sherrin car holding Class B. And you've got to suggest 2 laps up, they're going to continue to remain in the lead in Class B. With the difficulties and 6 laps still to go.
BMWs lead the way first and second, 17.4 seconds the gap between Luke Searle and Tim Lay. I dare say that Luke Searle can afford to button off a little bit. Here comes a late stop for car number 10, the Mitch Naylor, class leading B in the Suzuki Swift. This would not be a scheduled stop for these guys. It'll be a shame that they're going to lose if they lose the lead of this. They had a bit of an advantage.
They've got a lap up their sleeve.
So they want to make this as quick as possible.
Yeah, obviously it depends on what that situation is. We're just watching the car coming down into pit lane, and it must feel like an eternity, Gary and Darren, for these cars to come from 150, 60, 70 k's an hour down to 40 k's an hour into pit lane.
Certainly would, and you're just praying that it's not something terminal that's called them into the pits. Maybe it's just a fuel splash or something of that nature to get them to the checkered flag.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to tell. It's getting a little bit dark down in pit lane. Seeing some conversation going on. Not seeing anything else in regards to tyres or fuel.
It doesn't look like tyres or fuel, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's certainly not a good sign. Because that car pitted late yesterday with damage to the front end. We couldn't see any damage on it, unless of course it's had a puncture. We wouldn't see.
Well, with 5 laps remaining, it heads back out and will maintain the lead in the class. It's lost a position on the road to Barry Black, but will remain in the front of Class E, and it's only going to be by about half the length of the straight. They came in with a lap. The number 9 Walsh Curry car comes through now, so that lead is going to be whittled right back down now.
Could be a fight right to the checkered flag between those two.
Well, if the black car's got an issue, the number 9 will be all over it.
And here comes Liam Thompson, the third car. So they're all going to be on the same lap by the end of this race. That's amazing, isn't it?
And only 5 laps down off the race leader.
So 5 laps left to go in this 250 kilometre race. Gives us around 9 minutes worth of race time. As we have a look where our leaders are, they have completed 59 laps.
Amazing effort from these guys. Won at Phillip Island and back up and get a win at Sydney Motorsport Park this weekend. If
Well,
they
it's
stay on track.
pretty commanding position.
Another car into pit lane.
The Rod Salmon car comes in. Mark Griffiths at the wheel at the moment.
Although they've had their issues, they've remained sort of just to press on, haven't they? They've managed to just keep doing laps. They're 3 laps off the race leader. They're 5th in class. They're still going to get points.
Keep calm and press on, Des.
Yeah. We're not going to be setting lap records today, boys, but bring it home.
Our Class E competitors, we're just looking at class leader. Car 10 is at turn 15 and the second car, Paul Curry, is exiting turn 14. So very little between those two cars in the run to the flag. I wonder if there'll be team orders as they get down, if they get in closer in the final few laps of this race. 4 laps remaining for our race leader as we see Luke Searle exit turn 5, head over the top. Quick shot back to the pits. Tyre change here for the number 21 Evo. Mark Griffith at the helm at the moment.
MPC guys go to work. Quite the army down there. A couple of Audis entered this weekend. Of course, this Lancer. Nothing quite like the 6 Audis they had at the GT Championship racing at Phillip Island.
So 4 laps remaining. We've had an elapsed time of 1 hour 48. We've We should be probably close to just under the 2 hour mark, Gary, if our mathematics is any good.
Do you have a look who's in position 11? Grant Phillips, Petters Bendigo outfit, car number 86. Again, just pressing on.
Well, that's what in distance racing's all about.
Don't go a lap down to your main competitors.
It's an endurance event, and you've got to treat it as such. So endure, and you will find you'll get a result. It's when you start having problems that issues will put you out of scope of trying to win the event. I'm just keen to keep an eye on this Class E battle. The three cars are covered at the moment by 28 seconds.
And we've got an idea that the one leading the class is ailing.
Exactly.
We can't confirm that. We're just surmising that the drive, the stop in pit lane and inactivity around it, and then dispatching it again with 6 laps to go is to say, well, yeah, we acknowledge there could be an issue there, but don't stop now. Keep going.
Aaron Seaton, of course, up the 4th spot. He did take that position away from Grant Sherrin. So at the moment, Luke Searle leading from Tim Lay, 14.9 seconds the gap. Another 14.4 seconds back to Bob Pearson. 45.6 seconds back to Aaron Seaton. And of course, Grant Sherrin. Mark Eddy is the next one. He's only 9 seconds behind Grant Sherrin. So with 3 laps to go, there's a chance that the Audi could get ahead of the Class B BMW before this finishes. So horrible luck for when there's nothing you can do. You know your car's not there, you know you've got people coming at you, and all you can do is just surrender positions.
Some tight quarter racing on turn 1, down into turn 2 they go. Most of the cars have got their headlights on, making for great vision thanks to the nationals.com.au live stream.
Where's Jeff Russell in the Falcon?
Jeff Russell at the moment is in position 12.
So on the road behind the 86, and they're going around through turn 4-5 at the moment in the Falcon.
It's been a consistent performer of a couple of glitches, a couple of niggles with the car today. Of course, they didn't send it SA, but they managed to get it back out. But it's been reasonably solid in this, hitting 4.5 laps off the overall pace, Darren. So
yeah, I'll tell you what, once they've got the wheels straight, put it in a straight line, it's an absolute jet. It's big cars tend to be like that. Once you've got them all flat and straight and mash the pedal, away it goes. There it is, coming down into the hairpin now. Brakes blowing up, adding that extra dimension to the visual aspect of the racing.
There's another interesting battle going on between car 21 and car 5. Separated by 2.8 seconds. That's Mark Griffith and Chad Parrish. They're in Class A and C respectively, but travelling at about the same speed. Actually, Griffith picked up the pace, and obviously that became an issue because of their late stop for that right rear tyre. So for a moment there, it looked as though Chad Parrish may have picked up the position. Chad Parrish leading Class C in 9th position. Francois Joy is 10th. There's 27.9 seconds between them, and they're on the same lap.
watching Mark Eddy working the wheel of that number 2 Audi TT. He's just going through sector 2 at the moment, coming out of 18, and he was only 5 and a bit seconds. It's down to 3.43, Gary.
Getting closer and closer all the time. And good to see. And in the battle at the back, there's only 11 seconds or 12 seconds covering the three of them.
Luke Searle on the final lap now. Race leader heads down into turn 1. Car number 1, Sherrin's on screen now, slowly losing ground to the field. And 5th on the road, but leading Class B comfortably over the team car 19, David Ayres at the wheel there.
But in danger of losing 5th outright to Mark Eddy, who trails by just 2.9 seconds.
Well, he's got a lap to do it in.
Yeah, and he's got a little bit of traffic in front of him, which he should be able to get rid of around behind Corporate Hill. And he's actually done that a little bit early, which is great for him. So now he's on the hunt.
Certainly been an interesting race, a race of strategies, one that's really suited our race leader this time round. Let's see Mark Eddy go through turn 6, and just ahead of him on the road is Grant Sherrin, so we could see a change there, and they may have another lap to do as well because the race leader's behind them somewhere. but Grant Sharon will be driving for all his worth to try and hold position.
Picks him up at 15.
And the gap between the two Class C combatants in the Suzuki's 4.3 seconds.
Yeah, they've lost a lot of ground, haven't they? The black cars, the white one there in Class E. Costera not going to be a finisher here today.
Where's our race
Donald King
leader?
Pretty remarkable stuff given the issues we had yesterday. We've gone a full 64 laps just about with only the one retirement.
So Luke Searle now pushing to the line to take the victory, and it looks like Eddie has got that. There's Luke Searle, gets the checkered flag in the darkness here at Sydney Motorsport Park. We still have a race on for that 5th position. Mark Eddy and Grant Sharon, they didn't get the checkered flag.
Second car across the line, Tim Lay. The gap between those two in reverse order yesterday was 0.6 seconds. Today it was 10.99 the other way. And I dare say Luke Searle was fairly well off the button towards the end. Bob Pearson third across the line, takes the checkered flag, finishes 15.6 seconds behind. Aaron Seaton should be the next one through, and then we've got the battle where
Mark Eddy's gone through
on Grant Sharon. And we'll just see whether the Class C cars, I think, are still on their final lap as well. So just keep an ear out for where they are. As the final competitors come across the line.
Those two cars we've been watching for the last couple of laps coming up from behind Corporate Hill Gary for their final lap.
They certainly are. And
the last car's competing on the road too. They're going to bring it right to the line, aren't they?
Grant Sharon's not over this yet. He might try and salvage something out of this.
So the 55 car of Seaton goes through in 4th. So we're currently showing Mark Eddy in 5th, but as Gaz mentioned, it ain't over until the checkered flag gets waved in front of you.
So Class A cars have dominated the top 5. Well, it's an I-class car in there, but it is an A-class car.
It'll come down to get 5th position in this race will be Mark Eddy in the Audi TT-RS, just ahead of Grant Sharon in position 6. First in Class B, of course. Second in Class B will be the next car across the line, which was David Ayres, but obviously a couple of laps behind. And then Chad Parrish and Doug Westwood again taking Class C, with Francois Joy and Frank Donner second. Class D has gone to Grant Phillips and Andrew Turpey, while in Class E there's been Mitch Naylor, Lee Naylor, just ahead of Paul Curry, and his co-driver with Liam Thompson, Alexander Best third there. Jason Walsh was the co-driver of car 9, of course, as they bring that car into the pits now, finish the race. So very tight. Exactly 7 seconds covered the top 3 in Class E, all on the same lap.
Thank you very much, Gary O'Brien, for all of your assistance right throughout this weekend with the Australian Production Car Series, and that rounds out 2 250k races for round 4 of the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals. We send our thanks right around the track to all the volunteer officials trackside, the ARDC, not only trackside, in the pit and paddock area, the control tower, the Secretary's office, and indeed here in the commentary booth with everyone this weekend. Richard Crail, Gary O'Brien, John Collins, and Dave Canole, Matt Koch, also Jeff Emery that came up here during the race as well.
Tony Shebeki as well.
Tony Shebeki, of course, our main man. And well, that is, we say goodbye to everyone online on the Nationals TV and indeed on the Motorsports TV app. And we thank you very much for joining us. And we hope to see you all back and listening and watching to round 5, 29, 30, 31 of July at Queensland Raceway.